We have film at Grand Central Terminal this week where transgender groups and other civil rights activists were protesting what has been happening to Helena Stone. Helena works there at Grand Central Terminal fixing the telephones for Verizon and has been harassed repeatedly by the cops since September just for being transgendered. And there were a lot of folks out in the street today, and we're going to tell you all about the case. And we are honored to have with us Helena Stone and Michael Silverman from the Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund. Why don't we just start out with what happened to you, Helena? You work for Verizon at Grand Central Terminal, and how have the police been harassing you? You've worked for the phone company, first of all, for 37 years, but only there since August.
Yes. And they came up asking me for my past, and repeatedly, every time at the beginning, I never seen the police there. Hardly ever seen them. But as I was there, they seemed to be there more often.
Watching you.
Always asked, yes, and always asked me for my past. And they knew who I was from day one.
And this escalated beyond just asking you for a pass.
Yes. I got arrested 3 times. Once for not having my pass in my pocket, not around my head. Once when one officer came into my room, that room that was assigned to me, and harassed me for calling me names. And
well, what kinds of things were they saying to you? What was the pretext for these arrests?
I don't really know. They never told me.
But what kind of language did they use with you when they spoke to you?
The officer come in and asked me for my pass, and then he grabbed my arm and used the F word. Do I want to F him? But he used the word. He said that about 4 times, and he said that when I like to hit him, when I like to strike him, he was trying to intimidate me too.
And the finale here is that you tried to use the women's room, as you always do, because yes, that's appropriate for you. And in this case, what happened?
The police were watching the women's room, and when I went in, I just got in the stall, and I heard a commotion outside. Where the police? Where the police? We're coming in. We're coming in. So I got out, and I didn't actually make it outside the women's room. I made it a little ways, and they come in and escorted me out, gave me 2 tickets for disorderly conduct.
And at this point, you felt you couldn't even use the restroom in Grand Central where you worked. You ended up not being able to go. You ended up having to, if you wanted to go, you had to do it like in a cup or something, right?
I used a large coffee cup, and I washed my hands with my own spittle and wiped it in a napkin. And that's all I had all day.
Okay.
A little water.
All right. Well, Michael, I mean, you're not the criminal defense attorney here. The Metropolitan Transit, the MTA, Metropolitan Transit Authority says that they're now going to drop charges. It was a misunderstanding, and they're going to investigate all this. But what do you want to see done about what's happened to Helena?
Sure. First, thanks for having us here, because we're
well, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Excited to be able to talk about the case and the situation. And it's great that today, after 100-some-odd people took to the streets to demand action, the MTA has finally said that they're going to investigate. We filed a complaint with the MTA Police Internal Affairs Division close to 2 months ago, and on February 6th, we met with investigators from the MTA Police. At that meeting, we said, at a minimum, as we leave this meeting, can you guarantee us that our client can come to work here at Grand Central Station and be assured that she won't be arrested? That was what we, the absolute minimum that we needed, and they said, no, we cannot guarantee you that. And that was where we last left our
And what is their rationale on this? What were they saying she deserved to be arrested for?
I'm not sure that they ever expressed a rationale. From our perspective, this struck us from the start, and it strikes us now as transphobia, pure and simple. They didn't like her from the moment she arrived. Helena is incredibly brave to go forward with this, and she has a habit of sort of understating what went on. Some of the things she went through were quite horrific. 3 times she was paraded in handcuffs through Grand Central Station. For people who aren't from New York who are watching this, it's an enormously crowded, geographically enormous institution. It's both embarrassing, humiliating, and frightening to be taken off to jail that way. On one of the occasions she was held without...
Especially when you know that they're doing it just because they hate you, and they have no reason to do it, and they're just using their power to completely oppress you and take you away.
And I'll tell you, on the second occasion when she was taken to jail, she wasn't even charged with a crime. They held her in the jail cell for a matter of hours while they called her supervisors. I'm not sure what police protocol ever involves calling someone's work supervisors before you release them, but they weren't even charging her with a crime because no crime had been committed.
Now, Helena, you work for Verizon. Did they back you up on this?
Verizon didn't make me leave there. They wanted to know if I wanted to be transferred, and I said no, I want to stay there, and they abided by it.
And the backstory there is that the reason the MTA police called her supervisors is because the MTA police were demanding that Verizon transfer her out of Grand Central Station. It's not the business of the MTA police to decide who Verizon employs there, and certainly not when they're harassing the individual. And to their credit, Verizon did not transfer Helena.
They called Verizon the last time I was there. Last time I got arrested, they called them twice.
What are the laws that protect you in this case? What kinds of laws protect you, Michael, protect Helena in this situation?
Sure, there are a couple. The New York City human rights law guarantees that every transgender person should be free from discrimination in employment, in housing, in public accommodation. Grand Central Station itself is a public accommodation with shops, with restaurants, with restrooms. The human rights law specifically states that refusing to allow a person to use a restroom consistent with their gender is a form of discrimination. The state human rights law has also been interpreted to protect people on the basis of gender identity and expression. We have chosen to pursue a claim under the city's human rights law.
Right. Now, Helena, you told me that whenever you've gone into a women's room, you've never had any trouble with women, but if you've had to go into a men's room, what happens to you?
Well, it's also a safety issue. First of all, the men start to leave. They think they're in the women's room. And all I got to have is someone that's not just right with it and starts beating me up or something.
Which is why what the cop did to you by going into the women's room, banging on the door, is just so incomprehensible.
Well, the cop sounds like a very disturbed individual.
I was very surprised at it. I mean, I couldn't believe it when they come into my room.
Have you ever been treated like this before?
Never.
How long have you been transitioning?
I've been transitioning the last 11 years on the job, and before that, on the job and off the job for the last 11 years. And before that, I was sort of private about it, but quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So how does all this make you feel to be treated like this?
It makes me feel terrible. I mean, I don't have the rights that anybody else does, and I have to go. If I have to go to the men's room, that's not who I am.
And what advice would you give to people around the country who find themselves potentially facing a situation like this?
As the old story goes, if you don't speak up, then it just keeps happening, and it keeps getting worse.
So you're doing this for other people as well?
Yes, definitely.
And Michael, you want to see that this gets institutionalized, that they announce a policy, that they teach everybody about it, and they do sensitivity training.
Absolutely. It's nice that they are saying today that they're going to drop the charges. We haven't had confirmation of that. If they do, in fact, drop the charges, we'll be very pleased, but that's not enough. We have to ensure that this doesn't repeat itself with other transgender people who are passing through Grand Central Station. And
Helena, do you feel you're getting the support from the community that you need?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And how common is this now, this kind of a case for you, Michael?
This is our third case involving restroom access. Of course, Helena's case...
Restroom access.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Helena's case is about much more than restroom access. It's been a whole pattern of police harassment and misconduct.
I would call it brutality.
Fair enough. And the restroom piece is just one part of it. We have had 3 cases so far. We have taken them all to the Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission is hearing Helena's case, and they have ruled in our favor on all of our cases so far, and we are hopeful that we're going to prevail again. You know, as we said today at the rally, all options are on the table. You know, if we can work this out reasonably with the MTA, we intend to. If we're not able to, we may have to file a private lawsuit and move forward on our own.
Okay.
Well, something has to be done to hold them to account.
We really thank you for standing up on this, because so many other people, you know, don't feel that they can. It's a very, very brave thing to do, and we thank you. And Michael, yes, go ahead. You wanted to add something? No, not at all.
And really, good luck on all this. And
keep us posted, and we'll keep reporting it,
yeah.
and we'll keep calling them and making sure that they're doing the right thing. And Michael, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with your group?
Absolutely. if anyone is experiencing this kind of problem or any other anti-transgender discrimination, they can reach us on the web at www.transgenderlegal.org. That's all one word. Our phone number is 347-328-6710, and an email address is info@transgenderlegal.org.
Okay.
And I'd just like to thank the Anti-Violence Program for taking my case and introducing me to Michael.
Okay.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Well, good luck. All right, we'll be right back with the rest of the news. Well, there's